So, I think sometimes maybe it's possible that sort of as a population, if I want to use that word, I mean, is that a good word for it, or could it be described in a different way? When people get used to something and they have forgotten that they didn't used to need it, well, what happens when some things become convenient or seem to be convenient when actually, well, what's going on? Well, I want to talk for a few minutes about psychological warfare and how much do I know about that. I can't say I know a huge amount, but as does it go on? I mean, I think so. And we could talk about it on an interpersonal level when people are competing, just one to one. There might be some of that that goes on, in a school environment and things like that, maybe a work environment, wherever. But when you think about this on a large scale and what is going on with tech, all right, so I mean, I want to talk about this maybe to start out with. So we've got public school and and kids going to public school and getting tested, Stanford, and the IQ test that was modified by Stanford, which has an insane amount of influence on public education in this country. So yeah, somebody scores high or scores low, and there's school every day, and it's mandatory. And state to state, it's different. The laws about school are a little bit different. But and now there are a lot of there's a whole lot that's gotten, I could say, jumbled up and confusing, convoluted, and kids are still dying in school, regardless of how you know. Yeah, so public school children under pressure, you know uh schedules that, yeah, you have to, I mean, it's mini military. I have said that before and I will continue to say that that is what it is. I think there are enough features of public school that no matter what public school it is, you can say, yeah, I see some of that there. All right, so and what is the purpose of that? Well, certainly sort of a person could say cultivating, you know, sort of federal nationalism is certainly one of those intentions. And I mean, do people talk about it? Well, not much, but people need to. But that's part of the problem. You can't really, not too much. But we have these tech modules and some from this country, some from other countries that have stunned us with their intelligence. I mean, wow. Maybe things were hard at home and they went through school and they did well in school and then they got a job and it was a good job and wow, they got to use their intellect and they met people that, wow, they liked or they didn't like. And wow, what are they now? Some are millionaires. And I do think I have to believe that they're not all nasty human beings, but what is that? I mean, I do. I don't know. I mean, how many are there? And what is that other than a whole bunch of zeros? A whole bunch of zeros. And I mean, I can imagine someone in that position reaching a point of feeling suicidal, like they've taken too much and they're seeing too much harm coming from what they've done and wanting to modify things or help modify things enough to try to help keep the harm from continuing. Well, if that person went to public school in this country, they were kind of prepped for what they've done. If that's somebody from another country, well, what can I say about that? I think about South Africa, and what can I say about that? Well, I could talk again about psychological warfare. So, when people know that they are being surveilled and people start being afraid to communicate, what is that? I mean, that's just part of dictatorship, basically. And yeah, there are billionaires participating in that. They don't care. They got their federal money, they have their product, they have their name. Sure, they give to charity sometimes. But what is that? So yeah, psychological warfare. Well, how does socially the impact of that shutting people down? What happens? The first thing I'm going to say is probably more domestic violence. No doubt. More violence, communication that is not the way it should be. People having wrong expectations of people, you know, yeah. So, I mean, who wants to do that and where to get started? And well, I mean, what, I could ask what is psychology. It's not my favorite thing. But yeah, psychological warfare, when you start to notice that you're being surveilled, and all right, so that's good information. And yeah, that corporation is fucking with my life. I did not ask for this. I did not ask to be born. But yeah, I like being alive and I ain't fucking giving up my life. And this is nuclear fucking infrastructure. Nuclear infrastructure that people have been forced to use. People have been forced to use. In school, testing is largely done now on computer. And when the computers don't work well, guess what? Guess what happens? All kinds of things happen. And does anyone talk about it? I mean, people like me, how many people like me run schools? I know there have to be some, hopefully, probably younger. But how many schools want to hire someone like me, that a person who says what she thinks? And when things are so fucking far gone. So, yeah, Stanford. I could talk about that again for a minute. I mean, there's some history there. Yeah. And, yeah, well, yeah, what people learn to think is good. I made straight A's. I'm good. Yay. That is so sad. That's so sad. Feeling worthy because I did this, I did that, I reached this goal, I reached that goal. And some people climb that ladder with no real problem. Or, I mean, I could say, well, what if they're climbing rungs and somebody greases the rungs? Well, yeah, the person can fall downstairs too. But yeah, so most of us most of her just are really struggling to survive this mess that has been made. And is it too much to ask persons that have these companies to take some responsibility? I mean, do they? And if they don't, then I mean, with everything going on, should we look back at the Holocaust? Should we look back? And yes, I realize it's probably going to show up in the description. Should we look back a few decades and at what was going on, and at the companies, the people that didn't care, the governments that didn't care, and what happened? One of the problems, I think, is that when things seem normal, yeah, that person's name is normal. Yeah, that person talks the way I'm used to hearing. Yeah, I saw that person on TV. Then people do not notice when it ain't no different from something that horrific that happened in another country. All right, so psychological warfare. We should be thinking about it. We should. And yeah, I mean, if someone has gone real far down that road of, selling their soul to them, is it compassionate to reach out a hand and help that person come back? I mean, that's something to think about perhaps. But yeah, just some thoughts for this Sunday, and kind of the middle of January 2026. And yeah, y'all, let's bring it down.